You found the Chicago Suburban house of your dreams. The neighborhood is perfect, the schools are amazing, and the price way more affordable than the city. You're thinking, this is it, hand me the keys. But here's what nobody really tells you about before you sign, until now. In some Chicago suburbs, your property tax bill alone can be close to or even more than your mortgage. I've had buyers move here from out of state, get their first tax bill, and immediately start wondering and panicking if they made a mistake. The crazy part, we had discussed it before, but in the heat of buying a home, it's something you put on the back burner until that envelope and tax bill shows up in your mailbox. So today, I'm breaking down Chicago suburban property taxes into the few things you actually need to understand before you buy. We're going to keep this simple, practical, and real so you can start making smart decisions and not get blindsided later. Let's get into it. First, you need to understand this. Property taxes in Illinois are not like most other states. Illinois consistently ranks in the top 2 to 3 states in the country for property taxes. Why? That's because local services, schools, parks, libraries, fire departments are heavily funded through property taxes. And Illinois has a lot of taxing districts, thousands of them. That means every single one takes a piece of your tax bill. And here's where it really matters for you. Taxes can vary dramatically just by crossing into a different suburb. We're talking about one town being around 2% and the other one jumping close to 4%. Zion, for example, one of the most northern cities in Illinois, has the highest tax area in Lake County, around 4%. But that isn't even the highest in Illinois. There are downstate areas where that number is even higher. So if you're just looking at home prices on Zillow, you're missing a huge part of the picture. A $350,000 home with high taxes could cost you more per month than a $400,000 home with lower taxes. That's the shift you have to make when buying in the Chicago suburbs. Second, you need to understand how property taxes actually work because this is where buyers get tripped up. It comes down to your home's assessed value, the tax rate, and local funding, especially the schools. In Illinois, your home is assessed at a percentage of its value, 10% in Cook County and about 33% in the Collar counties. Then there's something called an equalizer, and then your tax rate gets applied. But here's what actually matters for you. The number you see online is not always what you're going to pay. Your assessed value is probably going to increase once you close on that house. So when you buy a home, it can be reassessed based on your purchase price. So if the seller bought it years and years ago for less, and you're paying more, your taxes are probably going to go up. What do you guarantee? Death and taxes. And one more thing that confuses a lot of buyers. Property taxes in Illinois are paid in arrears. That means when you close on a home, you're actually paying the previous year's property taxes, not the current year. Confused yet? I know. So the seller will typically credit you at closing for the portion of taxes they owed while they own the house. Usually we'll see 105, 110% proration. But here's the thing, your future tax bills will be based on you owning the home at your purchase price and your exemption. I've seen buyers get hit with a $2,000 to $4,000 increase after closing because they were budgeting off the old tax number. So what do? You look at the assessed value versus what you're paying. If there's a gap, expect a potential increase. If that seller had a senior credit or a senior freeze, and you're not that age, your taxes are going to go up and reflect the exemptions that you actually have. Now, before you panic about taxes, this is the part most buyers don't know. You might not actually pay the full tax amount you see online because of exemptions. Illinois loves a good exemption. So there's a few different types. We have homeowners exemption. If this is your primary residence, this is the big one. This is going to take off $8,000 off the assessed value, okay? That doesn't mean it's taking $8,000 off your tax rate. A lot of people think that. That's not how it works. In our area, it's $8,000 off the assessed value. So that lowers the amount on which you're taxed on. So if you live in the house, make sure you have a homeowner's exemption on it. Usually you have to apply after closing, but if the previous homeowner had that, then it usually just continues for you. Another type of exemption is a senior exemption. If you're over 65, you need to apply for this senior exemption for additional savings. It takes another $8,000 off your assessed value. So you have your homeowner's exemption and your senior exemption. And then there's something called the senior freeze. So this is based on income. So you need to be below a certain threshold, but it freezes your property taxes so they don't keep increasing over time. Illinois also honors disabled veterans with an exemption. There are significant exemptions for disabled vets that will reduce your property taxes substantially. So if you have a 30% disability rating, a certain percentage of your property taxes are exempt, but that will go up to 100% of your property taxes if you have a disability rating over 70%. You have to go and apply every year to your county. Okay, this is the part you're going to want to remember. I'm going to try to explain it to you. So here's a checklist you need to think about when you're buying a home in the Chicago suburbs. Number one, what county is the home in? Because that will affect how your taxes are calculated. And number two, a little more complicated, when was your property last reassessed? And if it hasn't been reassessed in a while, you're going to see a big jump. So this is how often property taxes are reassessed in the Chicago suburbs. So Cook County, which is Chicago and the nearby suburbs just surrounding that, that's reassessed every 3 years. It's called a triennial, and it's done by township. For example, year 1 might be the north suburbs. Year 2 will be the city of Chicago, and year 3 is the south and west suburbs. And then it repeats every 3 years. Okay, let's say you're not in Cook County, and you're in Lake, DuPage, McHenry, Kane. Those are the collar counties. And that's reassessed every year. But it's not a full market reset. It's more like annual adjustments, market updates. If you pulled any permits and you made improvements, that could trigger a change, like if you finished your basement. This is where a lot of buyers get confused. And here's the kicker. A sale can trigger a reassessment at any time. So even if it's not scheduled or it's not your reassessment year, if a home sells for more than its current assessed value, the tax assessor can adjust it closer to your purchase price. This is the biggest surprise factor for buyers. But you also need to consider if you're buying new construction. Then it's a full reset. So taxes really look low when you're buying new construction because you're just buying the land. The house hasn't built yet. And because taxes are paid in arrears, it's going to take a year or two to catch up. So a lot of times, new construction buyers, they're paying like $1,000 and they're like, this is great. Yeah, 2 years later, it jumps up to $13,000 and you start to panic. So you need to plan for that when you buy new construction. And number 3, appeals happen constantly. You can appeal your property taxes. Please know that. You can pay a company to appeal it. You could appeal it yourself. And that can temporarily lower your taxes, but that doesn't mean that number is going to stick around forever. Here's the thing. You also can't appeal them once you get your tax bill. There's a window in Illinois. You're going to get an envelope in the mail. It'll tell you what your assessed value is, and then you have a time period where you can appeal them. You cannot appeal your property taxes when you get the tax bill. You're going to have to wait to the next cycle. And then number 4, your equalization factor can change. That's that multiplier. Especially in Cook County, it adjusts to the assessed value to reflect the market conditions. So this can impact your taxes without a full reassessment. Then you should know this as well. But here's what matters most. It doesn't have to be a reassessment year for taxes to change. How do you plan for this? It's crazy. So if you buy a home and you bought it for more than it was previously worth, you're going to get caught off guard if you don't realize that your property taxes are going to go up. Don't assume the current tax bill is your future tax bill. Okay, you also need to consider what exemptions does the current homeowner have, because you may not qualify for the same ones. If you are not a disabled vet and your previous homeowner had a disabled vet tax exemption, you don't get it. Okay, so plan for that. Okay, you also need to know what is the effective tax rate. This is on the property tax bill. Sometimes it's kind of tricky to find. We'll see 2% in some places and then 4% in Zion. Eek! So it really does impact your property taxes and what you're going to pay every month. And always, always, always have your real estate attorney review the tax history. This is part of the closing process. Illinois, it's standard and it's 100% worth it. The Chicago suburbs are a great place to live. I grew up here. I grew up in Oak Grove Village. I now live in Lake County in Grays Lake, Illinois. I have family from Skokie. My sister's in St. Charles. I have a ton of friends from college all over the place. So I know the Chicago suburbs, but you have to understand how property taxes work in Illinois and specifically the Chicago suburbs so you are not blindsided a year after you buy the house. So, and if you're thinking about moving to the Chicago suburbs, hey, reach out to me and I can definitely help you understand how to make your next move. I spent 5 years in Texas. I understand that what it's like to move to Texas and come back, as a homeowner. And I do this every single day. So if this was helpful, like and subscribe, share it with someone who's moving here, and I would love to help you call the Chicago suburbs your home.